G'day guys, Peter from Team Low Range 4x4 here, and the first time, in fact, the only time I've ever needed to do a self-recovery using a winch, and well, how did I get myself in this situation and how did I get myself out, more importantly? That's coming up next. Alright guys, just before we get into it, I would highly recommend, if you haven't already, jumping on board and subscribing. And the reason is, if you haven't noticed already, I've still got the winch mounted to the vehicle. Haven't had a chance to take it apart and diagnose what the problem is. And that's going to be a whole other video. So if you're interested to know what actually has gone wrong, I would definitely jump on board and subscribe now. Get your friends to subscribe. They'll let you know when the video drops. Alright, with that said, let's rewind a little bit. Let's just rewind a little bit here so I can actually tell you what has led up to this occurring to us. So about 8 months ago, Lauren decided to jump on board the camping four-wheel driving scene, and she got herself the mighty Jeep. Yes, she calls it GG. You might have seen it in previous videos. So that has started a small little chain reaction, namely my wife, who has seen what Lauren's been doing and gone, you know what? I want to give this a crack. Now, she's been a little bit worried about that whole scenario for a while, so this was her moment to shine. And she had a crack, and guess what she discovered? I'll give you just a moment to think. What did she discover? Four-wheel driving is exciting. It's actually a fantastic thing to do, and I'm sure you guys watching the channel wouldn't understand this already. So that's given her something to aim for in this space. I want to know more about it. So Lauren and her went off and did a 2-day four-wheel driving course where they do the certificates for off-road for the police, the SES, a few other people. I think even a branch of the military might even do their certificates there. So these guys know their stuff. And just a quick note on that, if you'd like to know more about it and you'd like to see me have a crack and bring it to you on the channel, hit me up in the comments. Let me know whether or not that's something you'd like to see. I'll put a little bit of a highlight out of their 2-day adventure in an upcoming video, but let's get back on topic. Yes, so after the 2 days, my wife wanted to go out and hit the tracks and make sure she wasn't going to lose any of the information she learnt on that trip. So what happened? Alright, so what we decided to do was turn off Braewood Road onto Monkey Gum and just do the little back section of it. That way my wife could, you know, sort of brag to her sister, I've done Monkey Gum. Cheekily, of course, just that little bit at the end. Also, we had been talking the whole way along about a little bit of bog holes, getting a bit of mud on the car. It's a little bit of fun. We kind of enjoy that aspect of it. And I thought, well, there's a few bog holes on Monkey Gum, and I've been through them a few times myself. So what do you normally do when you go through a bog hole? Well, first off, of course, you check it with a stick usually, making sure you know where the wheel ruts and stuff like that is so you can avoid them. And if it's solid, if it's murky, best to avoid it, all that kind of stuff. Seemed pretty solid to us. We went through 1 or 2 and no problems at all. Wife was having fun. Came up to the 3rd one, did the same thing, sticked it out. I thought, well, if you give it a bit more momentum, we'll make it dramatic, we'll capture it on camera, which is what footage you're about to see right now. And give it some, throttle it, go! Stop! As you can see there, not enough momentum. I did say it a couple of times on camera, and now we're in the process of finding out how stuck we are. We've engaged the locker and we've violently tried to loosen the car using momentum through the steering wheel rack. That has not worked. None of it's worked. So, all right, out with the recovery gear. We've got the max tracks. We're whacking them under each wheel. I'm making sure they're in there really well, and let's give that a crack. Still no recovery. As you can probably see here, as I show you this footage, the car looks pretty beached. It's beached up onto, you know, the whatever's underneath there. So what are we going to do? It's time for the Adventurekings Dominator X 7.2 horsepower, 12,000 pound winch. At least that's what I thought. Out. You're fucking kidding me. In. In. Stop. Don't. Out. Out. In. In. Stop. My winch is broken, my lift is stuck. Yeah, so obviously I check the winch every time I'm going out and I know I'm going to be doing something serious. That's what the aim of the game here is. So after finding out everything was okay, and that's not just the winch itself, that's the recovery gear is in good shape, that the car itself is fine, the tyres are going to be fine, you've got to do an overall check. And I'm sure I've covered this in a previous video, and that's what you got to do, especially when you've got someone who's not as experienced going with you and in fact doing the driving. So you could probably imagine the shock and the words that I was using in my head when I discovered that only a few hours ago this was working fine, and now I'm up Bip Creek without a paddle. What are we going to do now? Okay guys, so how did we get out of this horrible situation? Because it was a horrible situation. Well, the first thing we did was we tried to get in contact with a family relative. Unfortunately, that didn't work. So we reached out to another relative to get in contact with their relative. All complicated. Anyway, that relative finally got the message, but they were not, readily available straight away. So we also reached out to the Facebook forums for the local area. And I'm not going to mention anybody else's name except one, which was Darren. He actually came out. He came all the way from his home to pull us out of this bog hole in the back end of Monkey Gum. So I want to thank you again, Darren, on camera. Hopefully I mentioned your name right. Look, we couldn't have done it without you, basically. So there you go, guys. At the end of the day, don't be afraid to mention to people on local area forums, on Facebook or wherever it is, that you're going to hit the tracks, especially if you're inexperienced, because I tell you what, it really helped us out in a pinch, and we want to thank them again. I can't stop thanking them, actually.
You guys are legends. Thank you so much.
Oh, good. Okay guys, if you enjoyed that video and you heard the horroring story that we just went through, don't forget to jump on board and subscribe if you can, please. Yes, don't forget that part 2 where I actually take the winch apart is going to be coming, and I don't want to be lost in the magical feed that is YouTube. So jump on board and subscribe. Of course, share the video around. I'm sure people find themselves in these situations from time to time, and it's good to know that you're not alone. And finally, a like, guys. Please like. The more helps us out as well. All right, guys, I'm Peter from Team Low Range 404, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Try moving it and I'll pull it out. Maybe it's me with a button.